Testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. If you're a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. I always think that's dumb to say, but whatever. You're here. Yay. I've already had a full day and I've had like 4 hours of sleep, so let's see how much of a train wreck we can make this, because there are a lot of numbers and math that we're going over today. So I'm already betting I'm going to be wrong on like at least 60%. I think I'm going to be wrong more often than I'm right. Anyway, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, hence we already have direct sunlight. Here's the thing. Because of the skylights, like as soon as 1 o'clock hits, that's it. It's all over the floor, everywhere. So unless dirty feet in the background. Unless I go immediately at noon, everything gets washed out. And I can't go immediately at noon because the lawn guys are at my neighbor's every Wednesday at noon. It's becoming a problem for me because I like a schedule. But anyway, what is happening? I don't even have a name for this episode. We're at episode 29. And I'm going to go over how to plan your projects by weight. These are both the same shawl. These are Ruth, which is released today. So you can go right now on our website and get your copy of Ruth. So we're going to go over, these are done in 2 different weights of yarn, 2 different yardages. So we're going to go over how you plan out and estimate and make sure you leave enough for your bind off and your finishing. So we're going to go over start to finish how you use weight for a shawl. But I'm just using a shawl specifically because you guys should be familiar with these shawls. If you're a regular viewer, you know I do a lot of shawls. So this should be familiar enough that you're going to know what I'm talking about. It can be applied to anything else you're making. It can be applied to sweaters. It can be anything you like to make. Anything you like to make, you can learn how to do this. And how I would tell you that is, if you're going to do something that you know you're going to make a lot, like if you make a lot of sweaters in a particular weight or something like that, because you pretty much use the same amount of yardage for a sweater if you're making them all the same size, right? Like you know what you're, like if you're making a fingering weight sweater, you know if you're small, you're going to need like 3 skeins, right? If I'm making a worsted weight sweater, I know I need about 5 skeins. So you're gonna have an idea of how much you're gonna need per thing, right? Because if they're similar, this is just to give you an estimate. So let's say you were making a sweater. Here's what I would do. I would weigh everything I could. So like first, when you first cake up your hank, weigh that cake and write it down. And then when you're done with that cake, I write down like where I am when that cake ends. And then I weigh my second cake and I put the weight in. And then when that cake ends, I put in where I am. So like I know I need 3 for top down. I need 3 skeins for the body and then 1 skein for each arm. But I have yarn left over. And I have not yet weighed that leftover yarn to see how much I actually used, because I forgot, and then I don't know where it is now. It's hiding somewhere. But if you do that, then weigh this whatever yarn as you start the sleeve, mark that down. And then when you end off the sleeve, if you haven't used up all your yarn, or if you've used more yarn, write that down. So keep track of everything. And then you can say, this arm took me about this, and your arm should be pretty close. Then you'll get an idea, so that if you wanted to do something else, or if you wanted to shorten the sleeves, or crop the body, make the body longer, if you wanted to make any changes, if you wanted to add like a cowl neck, you would know that you would need more for that. So if you have the basic of how much. So anyway, I'm going to show that to you on one of our shawls, because you're familiar with the shawls and you're going to know what that means. So let's back up a little bit and start at the beginning with what I'm wearing. I'm wearing, this is Carrie. This is an original design, Carrie, by Mourning Dew Studio. This is a 1 skein fingering weight shawl that is available on our website. The yarn is pretty pink poly from Felt Fusion, and I don't know if they make that colorway anymore, but they do make a watermelon that's pretty close. And then this is a Cascade 220 Peruvian Highland wool top that just really looks good. The colors. This is my favorite color green. This minty cucumber green. That's my favorite color green. Anyway, moving on to whips. Let's start with this one. Saying a lot today. I am so exhausted. Anyway, here is our crop top for dye project. Remember, we're not weaving in any ends or anything. I am going to have to do something to this middle one to make sure. But these are fine. These ends are fine to just leave. They're not going to do anything. And then for my bind off, I'll probably make sure that's somewhere, usually with like some cotton. I like to use cotton crochet thread, like in the size 10. I use a lot of that for, actually you'll see when I retie my hanks, I use a cotton crochet thread as my ties, which is great because they don't pick up dye. They don't. I've used them. They don't pick up dye. So anyway, I'll use probably cotton thread to secure my ends, because it's so thin it shouldn't work in any resist or anything. And I know it won't take the dye and it won't bleed dye, so we're good. Got quite a bit of this left. I just started the ribbing on the front, so we'll get some nice ribbing out of this. I have to say that this is Andy's, what is it? Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. This is Garnet Heather. This yarn is still so splitty. I was hoping, Lola's sweater, that it was the ball I got, but this one too is super splitty, and I find myself having to drop stitches down, like when you make a mistake, you gotta drop a stitch down and fix it. I find myself really doing that a lot with this yarn. Other than that, I don't really have any complaints about it. I don't find it overly scratchy. I mean, it's the scratchiest of the three wools that I use for my tops, but it's definitely not too scratchy. I'm really excited to see how that dyes up and what happens, to see how it takes dye, because I have some bare of that to dye. This is our main dye project. These are the Mars, they're shorts. and I'll link to them below. But I gotta tell you, this yarn, I told you I got from Dyer Supplier. I have not worked with yarn that I have bought at Dyer Supplier. I bought some, like I bought their marled sock because it was merino and a Peruvian Highland, and it's non-superwash, so I bought a bunch of that to play with because it's got a black thing running through. Now these were 2 samples of Superwash Sport Merino, okay? It says 100% Superwash Merino, sport weight, 328 yards, 100 grams, and then it says 2-ply. And this is not 2-ply. Remember, I was looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't look 2-ply. This is a 3-ply. And it smells delicious. It is so woolly. It's like 1 step below Barnyard. Like if it was a step over, you would be like, this is too woolly, but it is the perfect, okay. Like when I'm in my craft room and I have my wall of yarn, sometimes I just sit in there and just smell yarn. Like, cause it's a wall full of wool. Like all you do is like, just sit there and you just smell this all around. I've been having so much fun on this project. Anyway, my point is, we reached 8 inches, which was, we had to do this 2x2 ribbing for 8 inches. And then we have to start the increases, which I haven't worked out yet because I'm not making a medium large. I'm making like an extra small. So I have to measure my behind and see how big it needs to be and then figure out the math for those. So I'm where I need to be. But I want to tell you that Dyer Supplier finally had the sport weight back in stock because I wanted to buy a 5-pack and I didn't want to buy a 10-pack from Multi-Dye for because I only wanted 5 because I only needed 4, but I actually only need 3 because I bought one. So anyway, I only need 3 more skeins of sport weight for, I mean, I'll need them later if I finish my 3rd series, but I'm not even thinking of that yet. So where was I going with this? Oh, so what they had available was a 3-ply Falkland merino, which, okay, I know in the Falklands, the wool is named because of where it comes from in the Falklands, which is what, the UK or something, somewhere in that island, I think. And I don't know what kind of breed of sheep they raise in the Falkland, but it was my understanding that the wool was just taken and branded Falkland, and you just got a mix of whatever they happen to have. So I don't know if they got Falkland merino. I don't know. I'm not familiar with breeds and how they do that, but I get confused when they're also from a place because it's confusing, I think, on purpose. So I'm wondering if this is the same because that was 3-ply and this is 3-ply and this is not the 2-ply like that bag says. So I'm wondering. 3-ply. So I'm kind of excited if it is because this wool is so smelly that I want to like buy bags of it and just like decorate my craft, like just put a nail in the wall and, you know, hang a hank there. It would be like air fresheners in my room. It's so weird. Okay, anyway, so we're at the 8 inches and now we got to start increasing for the butt. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, if you have, well, you saw last episode, right, with the V-back tee? So I actually finished I didn't finish the whole thing. I finished where the short rows so I could try it on. And it was a little bit too short for my liking, which means my point was too not long enough. So I have a new plan. And that plan is scrapping the original with that yarn that bled all over. I just want to not look at it and want it to not exist for a while for my own like sanity. So that is just being erased. So I am going to redo the V-back tee, okay? And what I'm going to do is it calls for a 4 for the body. And I had also tried a 3/5, and the 3/5 was too thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the original stitch counts of the thing, and I'm going to go down to a 375 instead of the 4. Because I told you I never get gauge. I never get the right gauge. Not ever. Not ever, ever, ever. It doesn't happen for me. Maybe I measure it wrong. Maybe, I don't know. But I never, even when I'm working out the gauge on these, I don't even think I'm right. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to restart the V-back tee and use 375s. And then what I'm going to do is, there's some decreases that happen on a schedule, and I'm going to do them every time I come to them. I'm going to do these decreases, and I'm hoping that will take in the extra plus going down a needle size. Now here's my problem. I have I want to do 2 hanks of the same color. So I don't want to use yarn I really like because you have to cut it, and I, get anxious when I have to cut yarn. I don't like to do it. So, but I also at the same time want something I might wear. So I have two possibilities. The first, they're both Ravelry Group. Machita, which is a single ply superwash merino. Single ply is not my favorite. I absolutely hate single ply yarn. I will do anything I can to not use single ply yarn. I hate it. But for this top, since it's going to be such a big top, I don't think it matters that there's not going to be a lot of stretch. And if it's superwash, I don't think it pills too much, does it? But anyway, it doesn't matter. But one of the colors is this that I got at a yard sale near me, actually. This is Hojas. My 12th grade Spanish is failing me. Hojas? Machita? I don't know. Anyway. The color's okay. It's green, obviously. But it's got light green, like a moss green, that dark evergreen, that bluey green that I like, and also brown and a light yellowy green. So, it's not my favorite colors of green. Oh, look, there's a good rainbow representation right there of all the colors. You see that right there. That's pretty much all the colors right there. Blue, green, whatever. So it's not a terrible colorway. And if I'm gonna mess up, I'd rather mess up on my only hesitation with with not choosing this is I'm not sure it would look good with my skin tone, because I am like a cool tone, so I do a lot of pinks and cool blues, cool greens, and this seems rather warm toned with the brown and the yellowy green. So I'd rather not wear something that's going to make me look like I'm ill. And these two don't look like they match at all. They're very, very, my other one is also Machita. This is Violin. And this is pink, purple, dark purpley black, really heavily speckled, which is why I'm not really sold on using this one, because here we have speckles again to ruin my life. But really, there's not a lot of undyed part, so if it went pink, oh no, I'm not going to care. If this goes pink, I wouldn't care. Because all those blues, all the blue speckles would turn purple, which is fine with me. So I'm leaning towards this. I would wear for sure, but again, I'm afraid of ruining another 2 skeins of yarn. I'm leaning towards this because I feel like somebody else could love this, and I feel like it's not for me. But when am I gonna ever have the opportunity to give that to anybody? Anyway, so I think I'm gonna do the violin, because I don't know what else I'm gonna do with single ply yarn. Nothing, because I hate it. Okay. Also, another change. DK Eleanor, remember it was black. That one that I redyed, it was black and blue and pink, and I didn't bring it. It's in the other room. So here's what happened. That skein is actually, I went back and checked, it's 100% Polworth. Polworth, sorry, I'm trying to get my accent around this. Polworth. I don't know how to pronounce it. It is not a superwash. And the whole point of these shawls is what? To use the yarn that I will be selling from my shop. That is not one of them. And I went through the other 4, because I have 4 skeins that have the yardage that I need. And another one I'm pulling out because that dyer, I don't know where she gets her. I've been buying from her for a while, and I don't know where she gets her yarn from, but she always has weird yardages. And so the yardage I have is actually, she calls it a worsted weight, and it's 230, and that is nowhere. It's a thin worsted, which would be DK. So I decided not to use her yarn either, because it doesn't have a lot of stretch. Just stretching it does a hello bird. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of stretch in it. So this actually does have a lot of stretch when I was playing with it. And this is 100% superwash. This has the yardage. This is Vivid DK. I do not remember the colorway, but this is so unlike something I would love. I got this at the only fiber festival I ever went to. I just absolutely fell in love with it. I just absolutely thought this is such a beautiful skein of yarn. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I just absolutely love it. So I would love to have this worked up in one of my patterns, because I think it's a really just gorgeous skein of yarn. And this has already been made up too. I made a hat with DK. Why did I do that? I don't know. So I took it out of the hat, hanged it up on my nitty knotty and wet it to get all the kinks out, and then it's ready to go. So this should be DK Eleanor. Okay, and then we have Sport Weight Eleanor from Supernatural Yarns. And then, so I ordered more Sport Weight. We're gonna have that coming. So since I do have one other DK that is Destination Yarns Winterfell, that's probably going to be Maya, because it's a very light colored, and I think the old Shawl will show up nicely than anything I'm gonna dye. I can tell you that, because I'm dyeing dark colors, so I'm gonna keep these two in the DK. I'm gonna dye up two other DK colorways for Dana and Linda, and then we'll do sport weight for Dana, Linda, Maya. Oh shit, that means I'm gonna have to come up with a light colored. Okay, I have an idea for Maya. Okay, so I have absolutely no idea if I'm going to do the same two colorways on all of them. Should I do 5 different? I don't want to do 5 different colorways. That seems like a lot of work. I have no idea. So after Eleanor is done in DK, and I have to dye another one for the fingering for Dana. So I'm going to have to get my crap together and figure out. So anyway, if you've got any gothy inspiration pics, please send them to me. I would love to see some and post them in my Facebook group or on my Facebook page, or I don't know how Instagram works, guys, so I know that it's really hard to share stuff in Instagram. So whatever. Snail mail, I don't know. I don't know what to do. If I wanted to just do like our quarters, or if I wanted to do something different, I don't know. But that is a topic for another day, because we got to get going on this. Okay. Okay. So, planning your projects by weight. Are you ready for this? Also, did you see the difference in the point of these two? Where's the point? Here's the point right here. Is it? No. Where's the point? Right here. Look at how terrible that looks, and look how good this one looks with that extra. Yeah. Anyway, I have these out because they're both Ruth, and they're both done on different, what do you call it? Different, these are both fingering weights, but these are different, because this is 435 and 100 grams, and this is 460. 462-ish. So this thread that is smaller than this thread, even though they're both fingering weight. So that's how you can tell if the now what makes this a little bit thicker is the cashmere, because cashmere has a little bit, like, as I'm sitting here I can feel that there's a difference in thickness, and I can see a bit of halo from the cashmere, and I can see it's a little bit thicker, so you'll know by how much yardage how thick. Like, I would consider this a fingering, and I would consider this a light fingering. So depending on what you want, there's nothing wrong with either. It's just that they're different. And fingering also comes in like a 463, 4. There's like, you can get a 400 yards, which is going to be the thickest. Well, unless you go down to, I don't consider anything below 4 to really be fingering. At that point, I think you're in a sport weight. So, what was I saying? I totally forget. There's kids screaming outside, and I get a little. But anyway, that is going to have to do with when we're deciding what we're doing. So be aware that is also a difference. That's going to, you're going to have to work that into what you're doing. Okay? We're going to break this down into 3 parts. Okay? Now this is specifically for shawls. So if you're doing a sweater or something else, you're going to have to tailor that to whatever you're doing. But I really do want to stress that the more you weigh your projects, the more it's going to make sense to you, and the more you're just going to instinctively know when to weigh and for what purposes. So when you first start, do it all the time. Do it all the time. Keep a list. Write it down. Most important. Keep a list. Write it down. So on our scales episode, I showed you what kind of scale you needed, right? You needed a jeweler scale. That's what I use, a jeweler scale that gives you 0.2 of a gram. I showed you how to measure. Remember, stable surface, put your project right next to it and do it the same way every time. And then I showed you how to work your bind off so you don't run out of yarn. Remember that? Okay, if you don't remember that, go back and watch the end of that. But I'm probably going to make a standalone where I'm going to redo all of this for you, so you can have it all in one place. This is good practice for me. So today, I'm going to teach you how to plan your shawl. I'm going to take you through exactly how I did this one after already having done this one. So it does help if you are doing something, if you already know what your bind off is, or you can guess. But like I already went over bind off, so I'm not going to go over bind offs again, because I already showed you how to estimate that. So first, something is on this. Like hard, like candy, like sugar, like I don't eat that stuff, so I don't know. Well, it looks like she needs to be freshened up. Anyway, so we're gonna break this down into, this is going swimmingly, isn't it? We're gonna break this down into 3 parts. And the first part is, you have to decide when you're going to start your repeats. So over here, we started at 40 grams, and over here we started at 50 grams. Now, we got 7 and 10 repeats, 7, 10. So we only got 3 more repeats, so not even worth it to me. I prefer this version so much better. But it's up to you how far you want. And plus, remember, because these have different yardages, you actually started differently at different, because these have different yardages. So even though you used 40% of the yarn, oh jeez, come on, for real? This one's not as sticky as the other one. So you're going to get a different starting point depending on what your, those actually might be pretty similar. I don't know. I'm not even going to try. So for my work, my Eleanor ones, which I don't have any of them out here, but the Eleanor, the bias triangles, on worsted weight, those I only worked to 30 grams before I started because we had just shorter yardage. Okay, so I worked to 30 yards. 30 grams. This one we worked to 40 grams. This one was 50 grams. Now, Michelle is totally different because while we do work her in weights, how we do them is different. Remember I said I do 2 inches of stockinette, then 2.5 of this. That's just what I do. So then once you had that first 2-section repeat, then you would use that as your repeat. Okay, so you would basically skip this first one for her here and go right back to her repeats, which are going to be bigger sections than these. Like this repeat is 4 rows. This repeat is 2 rows. Was this one 40? No, this was 50. We went to 50 for this one too. So that's the first thing you have to decide. And that's what I let you decide in my shawls, is what weight you want to work until. So you could be going and work 30 grams and go, oh, this is enough. Or you might go, I want to work, to 50 so I can have more, Then you get more old shale than over here. So it depends. Where this is more of a design element, this is like, like a decorative edge, I think this is somewhere in the middle. It's a big decorative edge, but I like it. So that's the first thing you want to do, is decide how far down you're going to work. And that is personal preference. And you just realize that the longer you do here, the less you're going to do at the bottom, and vice versa. That makes sense, right? Okay, so now I'm going to get close. Oh, I'm stuck. I can't get close. Okay, that's nothing. Okay, so can you see these? I'm trying to not kick the thing. Okay, so this is so awkward to hold. Someone needs to make a handle for it. Okay, so we're talking about this one right here. This one right here is what we're talking about. So this is how you estimate your repeat section. Okay, so we worked until 50 for this. We worked 50.79 on this one, 57.9. What was I just gonna say? I'm talking about the repeat section is this lace, this old shale lace, which is a 4-row repeat. So when I say repeat section, I mean those 4 rows. Whatever your repeat is, like this I said was what? 2 rows. So I weighed after every 2 rows. Every 2 rows took a measurement. This one is every 4 rows I took a measurement, or took a weight, but at weight and measure, same thing. Okay, so we started, can I use this one instead? So we started with 50.79, and our first 4-row repeat was 47.16. Okay, so then you just subtract 47.16 from 50.79, which gives us 363. So what I did there was I took 47.16 and I subtracted 3.63, and which gave me 43.53. So I kept subtracting 363 from whatever number I got. I just kept going because that's going to give me an estimate. This is how I estimate your repeat sections. So I kept estimating until I got for my 2 garter ridges at this weight of yarn needs 8 grams. I already know that. And if you're going by my patterns and you're using the same yardage, this will be in my pattern. It will say what to stop at for your last your finishing rows and then your bind off. Okay, so that will be in there. If that's not there, you're going to have to estimate that. And the only way to do that is with doing the rows. So because this is a 4-row repeat and only one of them, only the first one is lace, the other two are knit and purl rows. So I would, when I got closer down here, I would, instead of waiting for the 4 rows, I would go in between and get that knit on the right side row. I wouldn't do the purl rows. I just wouldn't, because a purl row is never going to be the same as a knit row. So I would take your, because you have a lace row, then you purl back, then you knit forward, and you purl back on the stockinette version. My garter version for the Eleanor series is different. So if you haven't done this yet, you're going to need to section out and weigh your knit rows. And I would keep track of those, because then that's going to tell you, because you're going to need 4 garter rows after, and plus your bind off. So just like I showed you how to do your bind off in the other one, you're going to do that here if you don't have that already. So go back and watch that, because I don't have time to go over that again. So now these are just estimates, because we know not every row is going to be this, and that's the smallest row, because of course they're going to get exponentially bigger, which doesn't matter, because this is just an idea. It's just an idea. It's just to go, hey, how many might we have? We're estimating. It doesn't matter. Okay. So I knew I needed 8 grams. I knew if we got to 723, that was going to be way too low, but it was just an estimate. So I figured here, you can see we have 43.5, 43.53. So, okay, 39.70, 39.90. Now, I would start to get worried there, because this is going up and this is going down. So what I would do in that case is I would cross, like here, probably right here. I'd start crossing this off and going that way instead. So then you're just above. See then 22.15, 21.75, 17.56, 18.12, 12.71, 14.49. And then here is where we actually stopped. So don't get upset if you're not keeping up with your estimate, because it's not that it's arbitrary. That estimate there is to help you. It's to help you plan. And so if you see this happening where you're losing where it should be, go down, because that just means you're going to lose a repeat. Big deal. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. The most important thing is this 8 grams, that you have that 8 grams. So I stopped at 796 because that 1271 was just too much for me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. So I went down to 796. Holy cow, right? Like, nice. So, are we good here? All I did was measure after each repeat. And so the farther you get, the closer you get to knowing how many you're going to have. So, and you see how big they're getting? They're getting bigger, 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 bigger. Okay? So then, what we do with the 8 is our bind off. And we know with this, we want 2 garter ridges, which I put here, knit 1 and knit 2. I always mark my garter ridges like that, so I know how many I need and where I'm at. So here, we went from 796 to 680 to 562 to 446 to 320, and we were left with 0.70. So it all worked out great. So all you do is subtract to get what that row was. You take what your row ended up from the row before, and you get, like, look how that goes down. 475 for a whole 4-row repeat, and then 1 row is 116. So you can infer that, how weird that was, exactly 250. 116, 118, 116, 126. See, I probably would have taken that 126 and doubled it, which would have given me 250, and then I probably would have added a little bit to it. But I mean, that's a good ending. So it's not, there's a lot of numbers involved and there's a lot of math, but it's just subtraction. It's just weighing your skein, what's left of it, and subtracting from the row that you did. And you do this and you won't lose yarn chicken. I haven't lost yarn chicken in so long. Like, the only time I've had to rip out a bind off is if it's something brand new and I was feeling brave. And then I get real mad. But if it's something that and then once you do that, then you know if you weigh that, then you know what your bind off's going to be. So it doesn't matter. You figured out what your bind off's going to be anyway. And then you can figure out if you have room for an extra row or not. I absolutely love using weight as an alternative to counting stitches and to working so many inches. I think it's so much easier to do weight because then you can go between weights of yarn. You can do fingering, you can do light fingering, or you can do regular fingering. You can do, I don't have any of the worsteds here. You can do worsted, you can do DK, you can do really anything. If you have the weight is so much more important than it gives you so much more freedom to change and do what you want than stitch counts. I hate stitch counts because that only works if you're meeting gauge. That only works. And how many times do you meet gauge? I never meet gauge, especially row gauge. So anyway, let me see if I missed anything. Yeah. Same thing. We did the same thing with this Ruth. Now, don't forget that if you have it planned out on this Ruth, I don't know what this Ruth was for her bind off, but because it's going to change, because we've already changed how wide this went. So because we don't have the stitch counts, we don't know if it's the same. Well, I'm guessing it's not because we have more yardage here than we do here. So it would make sense that this has more stitch counts. So this bind off in your finishing rows is probably going to be more than this. I would just hazard to guess. And if not, I would see if you know how many repeats you got on this, and how many repeats you got on this, you could know that too. Now the Eleanor series, the bias garter is different, which is why I'm obviously not going through those yet, because I haven't even finished Eleanor yet. So once we have all those done, I'll probably do the same thing for the this will be for top down triangles, I guess. This one will be plan your top down triangle. I don't know. I mean, you could, if you're doing the Eleanor, well, you can't do Eleanor, she's not out yet, but you could apply the same things to Eleanor. I'm pretty sure I've given you enough about Eleanor, because what I tell you about Eleanor, make sure you start your bind off at the point and not at the arm. So as long as you know that, it's the same thing. My Eleanors, just these can start, well, the Eleanors, the worsted weight Eleanors, I did all of their trims at 30 grams. And I'm not doing that for the worsted or for the fingering weight ones. I was thinking maybe 40 grams like I did on her, because I think the 40 gram on her came out great, but I don't know how it's going to come out on this. I probably should have made a note of something, or at what things they were at. because I don't know how long of this I want to have, because it goes up half the side. It's not just trim, it goes up the arm. That's my only hesitation with how long I want that to be. But I still think it's pretty. It's just a different look, which I like, having the freedom of different looks and different, different things. Because people are like different things. We should all have what we like and stuff like that. So Ruth is now available. So go to the website and download your copy of Ruth. I will have this version and this version without these extra points in it, because that came out terrible. So I'm pretending that never happened. And unless you watch this, you're not going to know what happened anyway. So, wow, I really got something on her. Now I have to clean her off. I spilled something on my cashmere. What? That's terrible. Anyway, Ruth is available. Ruth is... I told you I picked the name Ruth, right? Why I love the name Ruth. I mean, this is named after an actual Ruth, but I love the name Ruth because the word ruthless exists, right? So if you think about it, ruthless is without Ruth. So I wonder what type of woman Ruth was. That ruthless is a terrible word. It really is not. So I don't want to be called ruthless. I don't want to be considered ruthless. That is a terrible, terrible thing. I should probably look into the word Ruth, but just the fact that it's a name and ruthless is a word that exists, I find that hilarious. Like, in my brain, it's hilarious to me. And I just think of Ruth as this amazing, exceptional woman, where being without her would just mean utter ruin for, I guess, a man. Back then, I guess. Anybody. So, that way you can have your own Ruth. Never be ruthless. Never be without Ruth. But I really do love this center point. Looks so much better with that, doesn't it? With the arm. Yeah, the arm isn't even that long. So yeah, I would just pretend that this never happened. Don't even look at it. It didn't happen. So go get your copy of Ruth. And you guys, really, if you are making these, please tag me. I would love to see your thing. I have not put them up in Ravelry. I'm fighting it. I'm fighting putting them up in Ravelry. And I think I got to get up. I think I'm not going to get anywhere until I do put them up in Ravelry. So I'm thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. I'll make a decision soon. Maybe. So then Eleanor, who we're still working on, I have to do DK and Sport Weight Eleanor. Today's the 16th. Ruth will be out on the 18th, so 25. Okay. So then July, we have July 2nd. I will probably have all of, because I only have two. I only have DK and Sport left of Eleanor to do. So I will for sure be done in 2 weeks. The end of the month is 2 weeks. I will for sure be done with that. I'll probably have the shorts will be done too, and I'll probably have a good spot of my V-back tee done. So I don't see us not finishing anything on time this month. So anyway, I'm thinking about when we're going to release Eleanor, and I would say no for July 2nd, just because of that weekend. Probably no one's gonna be around to watch that video anyway, so maybe the 9th. I think we'll do because then July I'm gonna be working on Dana. Am I gonna have to do all 4 versions of Dana? Shit. That means I got to get in the dye pots. That means what our dye day, July 5th is our dye day. That means I'm going to have to do all of these projects that we're dyeing. Then I'm going to have to dye for Dana fingering, DK, and sport. So I'm going to have to do 3 different colorways. Guys, help me with some inspiration because I don't know what I'm going to do at all. I'm real good at doing black in another color, but I want to do like some like for real repeatable colorways. It's really hard to do both at the same time, to be immersed in your designing and also be immersed in dyeing, because those are 2 separate things. So, and I got my my tornado gray and my espresso bean from Dharma, so I still gotta do a ton of swatches, so I gotta buckle down and do that too. I need an assistant to do all of the stuff I don't want to do. Or I gotta teach some of these dogs to knit, or maybe the cat. Somebody. Okay, so I got a lot to do. I gotta figure out what things we're gonna do. So let's see what's next week. Do you guys care that I tell you what next week is? Whoops. Oh my God, are you serious? We're planning July projects next week already. What? Yeah. So hopefully that was helpful, and you'll be able to choose your own adventure shawls. I think I've given you everything you need to choose your own adventure shawl. So, oh my gosh, if you do a choose your own adventure shawl, will you please at me and give me all your specs? Give me all your specs. Tell me show me what you were left with. Oh, I would love to see some choose your own adventure shawls. Even if you don't use mine as the base, I just want to see you use your scale to do stuff and not mess up. I usually just take free patterns and I'll like take certain sections and be like, okay, I'm going to work this till this, and then, put this in, or like a lot of things I'm going to do, redo with this triangle Eleanor. Like a lot of my mosaic ones that are asymmetrical, I can't wait to do them in this. Like I just cannot wait. I want to get all these patterns done so they can all be out there, and then I can have fun doing that stuff. To get this out of my head and get out of here. Anyway, I need to shut up and go home. Wait, I'm already home. I need to shut up and let you leave. Okay, for real, signing off. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything. I don't mind helping other knitters, designers, dyers, anything. If I can help, I am happy to do it. So thanks for hanging with me. We'll edit this down to a shorter time. I always forget how I end this. Oh, take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. Bye.